Welcome to CarSceneKorea. I am DK Kim, your source for Genesis, Hyundai, and Kia cars straight from Korea. I'm going to tell you how Kia EV6 and EV5 are different. I do have in-depth review of each car on my channel, so feel free to check it out if you want to know and learn about everything about these two cars, and that's also including this facelifted model. It looks very different from the first gen, right? I do also have EV6 GT review on the channel as well, so please refer to that, including the EV5. And this RSPA2, by the way, which stands for Remote Smart Parking Assist 2, it comes in really handy, as you can see, especially more so with the EV5 that is slightly bigger and larger, broader car compared to the EV6. The real world feel of how these two cars differ in terms of the size. EV5 definitely being bigger. EV5 is almost equivalent to that of Kia Sportage in terms of the exterior size. The wheelbase, exterior length, width, height, you name it. You could pretty much say that this is actually the electrification version of Kia Sportage, if you will. So do not confuse with the Sorento we see right there. And both of the cars are GT line, meaning it has different looks in exterior. I will tell you more about the powertrain and how they are different. This is the rear wheel drive when you get the single motor, whereas this is the front wheel drive when you get the single motor. And there's only single motor variant for the time being. However, EV5 will be offered with a dual motor, which is the largest battery pack you can get from the EGMP, Electric Global Modular platform, that both of the cars are built upon. It is Hyundai Motor Group's first EV dedicated platform that has been widely used ever since the first EV6 debut and launch from the car, of course including this. The platform is the same, however, EV5 only supports up to 400 volts, while the EV6 supports up to 800 volts. That gives a difference in charging speed, meaning the EV6 will actually charge from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes using the proper charger. Ultra fast charging indeed. However, that's not the case with the EV5, unfortunately. Well, both of the cars do get fully automated cover, as you can see. However, the location of the charger port is different. So just like the EV3, it is located on the right front. So the charging speed is slightly slower compared to the EV6s. However, in real world, it doesn't really bother me all that much, to be honest. Well, because if you've been there, you guys know what I mean. But 10 to 80% in 18 minutes, that's ultra fast. But the charging speed that I get with this, which is slightly less than 30 minutes, that is more than enough, to be honest, in real world. When you need to just charge up in between your destinations, I genuinely can live with that. You don't really come across that ultra fast charging stations, to be honest. So this is the boot. You can see the level and the height and the shape is definitely different. It's more of a traditional SUV, if you will, with the EV5. Again, the Sportage vibe to it, whereas the EV6, more like a liftback, just from the angle and the looks of the car when they're opened, it's completely different. And this is exactly where we see the differences between these two and their target customers. More about all this in my previous videos and detailed looks of the car. It's all on the channel, feel free to check it out. But one thing I do need to point out is definitely this trunk compartment's brand new design. This is called Kia Add Gear, where you can just simply relocate and attach to wherever the need is. And you can get very creative with it. It's just only the cargo net holder we see. However, Kia is coming up with numerous ideas and items for you to decorate and get practical with your EV5 life, so stay tuned for that. You can also use the Hyundai Add Gear. It's interchangeable. Well, honestly, essentially they are the exact same thing. If you like an item from Hyundai per se, you can also include it on your EV5. And that is the V2L inside the vehicle. Another big difference I will show you momentarily. So this is what I mean. The shape of the trunk is completely different. This is a lift fastback like, and level of the hatch is just very different, right? I'm not really going to name the obvious. The car's interior is very different due to the layout and the physical size of the car, as we can see, and the trunk compartment as well. EV6 does get that 2-level boot and slightly more extra storage underneath the boot, whereas we get quite a lot of boot space underneath right here with the EV5. Enough of all this. Like I have said, I have all of it on the channel already, so please refer to that video. I need to go and test drive this car so I can tell you how they're different back to back. So running out of time as always, but what is your choice between these two in terms of the exterior? I mean, there definitely is the color difference right now, but these two cars are completely different, as you can see. A traditional SUV versus a fastback sports coupe-like SUV EV6. EV6 definitely got some performance as well. Let's go check it out. And immediately different is, of course, this gear shifter. It's a dial type located in the middle center console, whereas it has been the column shifter behind the steering wheel for the EV5. The column type shifter is definitely the latest one from Hyundai Motor Group. I know some people don't like it due to where it is positioned, and it is something that we just are not used to seeing and getting. However, I want to say it actually is the ultimate form of where the gear shifters are supposed to be, because you get to utilize more space behind the steering wheel. The whole center arm console actually can be dedicated for extra storage, which is something that we see with the EV5 for sure. So where you control the navigation and HVAC is all located right here with a thin bar interior, whereas EV5 has the 5-inch dedicated HVAC display in between the 12.3-inch dual displays of the CCNC. That stands for Connected Car Navigation Cockpit. So both of the cars do get the CCNC, these two screens that we see on all of the latest Hyundai Motor Group cars. However, having that HVAC in the center, I know some people are going to tell me that it gets obstructed by the steering wheel, but the kicker is that just leave that on the auto and you don't have to touch or worry about the AC control whatsoever. I mean, the automakers used to brag about how the HVAC is now fully automated. They say auto button, right? So everything is supposed to be automatic. We don't need to manually change the level of the fan or the temperature. You just need to set that temperature up at first. And 23.5 degrees Celsius is the optimal temperature, I would say, year round. Doesn't matter summer, winter, it keeps the car comfy and cozy. Enough of all that. It might be the personal preference and differences here that come into play, but I do actually prefer that 5-inch HVAC on EV5, and also having some of the physical buttons and separate features for separate things. And Kia also did a great job of coming up with this thin display that can maximize the space, and well, thanks to that, it gives this sleek and flush look exterior all throughout. However, this gear shifter being a feature that you don't really use all that frequently, I think it's okay for us to say goodbye to this and push this guy away behind the steering wheel. And all the buttons were located on the door panel in terms of the heated ventilated seats for the EV5, whereas it's located in the middle up ahead right there for EV6. EV5 gets the comfortable stretch seat, which is essentially the ergo motion seat of the other brands, whereas the EV6 didn't get it. A little bit of bummer, I guess. As for the batteries and the real-world driving range, I did already cover it on the previous video, so please refer to that if you'd like to. And this is the test driving center's car, so everybody has been driving this car. Keep that in mind. This car managed to yield 6.0 kilometers per kilowatt hour. It's not bad at all, right? Once again, judging by the fact that this is driven by like everybody. And I am the worst person when it comes to the battery efficiency, so I don't think I saw that number when I was long-term test driving the EV6. So the drive, I almost was thinking that I was in some kind of sport mode with the EV6, because steering wheel feedback and response is definitely stiffer than the EV5s. I'm not saying that EV6 is on the level of sports cars. No, not that at all. It is just one of those things I do feel and I need to point out and address, because it is the differences between these two cars today anyway, right? And also the sense of space I get inside the EV6 definitely different than the EV5. EV5 is more spacious. I do feel and get the more extra space, especially the trunk boot with the EV5, whereas I feel all that hatchback design and space to myself looking at the rear view mirror, and the EV6 gets the DCM, digital center mirror, while the EV5 does not get this. And this is the tech that I actually find quite handy, because when you have people sitting in the second row passenger seats and you have trunk loaded full, your view gets obstructed physically, right? However, that is not the case with the DCM with the EV6, as you can see. And you can always turn it on and off like that if you don't like it. You can have the traditional side mirror, the rear view mirror, or the DCM if you like. The steering wheel layout is different. It's just a different design. EV6 gets the Meridian premium sound system. And we know all this, the center arm console and more space underneath, and the drop down glove box like that. Not exactly going to say who is the winner here. I think it will boil down to personal preference, although we know the EV5 is definitely the winner when it comes to the space, but not by that much though, to be honest. So if you don't really need all the space in the world and EV6 does it for you, I don't really see the urge of choosing the EV5 over EV6 just because of that. However, it could be the personal preference and the design preference, if you will. Smart Regen 3.0, which you can access by long press holding the right button, and it will turn into auto. And it means that it will use the Smart Regen on its own to use the adequate regen brake level. But on top of that, above it all, the most important thing is that the vehicle does recognize the traffic condition in front of you, and it will glide, keep the same speed if needed, and also will put the car into a complete stop if it's needed. So it doesn't recognize the traffic lights. However, it does so with its surroundings. So it really alleviates a lot of stress when you drive in the cities during the rush hour, when you need to frequently stop and go. It is different from the iPedal, just so you know. A very practical and something that I would always look for when I am in the market of getting an EV. And turning radius, just beautiful. A little bit of quick pull. Of course, there is no shortage whatsoever. Instant speed and response from both of the cars. They are different. However, I think it will just boil down to your personal preference at the end of the day. Would you be willing to choose a car that is more boxy shaped, more room space inside out? Or is EV6 more than enough for you and you just want more sleek, one-of-a-kind design? And also, EV6 has got to be more aerodynamic compared to the EV5 because of the exterior shape. So it's a bit of shame that we don't get the comfortable stretch seat on this EV6. I don't know, call me biased, maybe not, but having that versus not actually is almost like a day and night difference for me, to be honest. Every time I sit inside the car, I would always activate that seat and just enjoy my cozy, comfy drive along the way. And there's the Tesla Model Y, which is a direct competitor to Kia EV5. So, food for thought. I do feel that EV6 is definitely on more of a sporty side in terms of the suspension and the feedback that I get from the tires and whatnot. It's more sporty and agile. We all know what EV6 is capable of. You can definitely have fun, a lot of fun with this car. You can easily drift with this car, and with the proper brakes and tires alone, EV6 is definitely a Sunday drive trek ready car with a dual motor spec. And if you disagree with me, there is the EV6 GT for that. I know it's not going to be the fastest and the most fun car to be driven on tracks. However, what I am saying is the EV6 is definitely capable of sports driving while EV5 not so much. Well, most importantly due to the layout of the car being front-wheel drive and this EV6 being the rear-wheel drive. However, both of the cars will, I say will because we don't get that with EV5 just yet, they will both be available in dual motor specs, and there will also be the GT variants for EV5 as well, meaning there will be more performance with the car. EV6 is definitely geared more towards on the sporty aspect, sports driving aspect, while the EV5 will definitely be on more of a family car aspect. The shape of it, the size of it, and the persona people, customers will be choosing in EV5 over EV6 and vice versa is definitely different. So let me jump back to EV5 and tell you more about it. And I actually want to feel and find out how these two cars are different, which I think I just did right away, is definitely this panoramic sunroof. It's bigger, it's wider, and we get more visibility out the window with the EV5 because the panoramic sunroof actually does stretch all the way to the second row for the EV5. So you see where the difference and the focus lie between these two cars, right? EV6 has a bit of more care for the driver and having fun aspect, while the EV5 is definitely set and geared towards the family aspect. EV5 is a bit dull in terms of the characteristics and its color, I would say. It is a very well positioned car that checks all the boxes there is to it when it comes to a family EV SUV. While EV6 might lack compared to some of the EV5, however, there are areas that EV6 excels over EV5 for sure. But when it comes to the second row space though, EV6 also does offer great amount of inclination and declination on the second row seat. No problem whatsoever, to be honest, to be a family car. However, the door size and the shape of it, when you load and unload your babies and kids jumping in and out of the second row seat, EV5 is going to be the winner. So that pretty much sums up today's video. I would like to say that if you are looking for a car that is more family geared, definitely EV5. However, more on the solo and having fun aspect, EV6 is the one for you. And I think I can say the same about it in terms of the looks of the car as well. EV5 has the traditional SUV shape, family SUV, whereas the EV6 has this sleek design. And there's the EV5 being tested, driven around right there. So the second row space and the trunk, the panoramic sunroof as well, and the center arm console as well. I mean, it's quite spacious. However, EV5 is going to be the winner on this one too. And in terms of this infotainment system, right, I need to jump back and forth in order to change what I need from the system. I mean, I do get used to this. However, the fact that I need to jump back and forth when I need to switch over from the map and AC, I think the EV5 is better on that one. So summing it all up, you actually do see where I'm going with this, right? It's really about your personal preference, to be honest. So BVM, blind spot view monitors, same thing with the EV6 and EV5. And I actually do feel like it's slightly easier for me to maneuver around in the building, the same building structure, right? That definitely has to do with the line of sight. I sit lower to the ground, so I feel slightly more comfortable with this car, if you will. So let me jump back to EV5 and tell you more about it. See you there. All right, I am back in EV5 as you can see, and we're about to lose the sun. So what I have felt and said, told you about is exactly the same. The line of sight definitely different, and the way it behaves certainly different. EV5 is set more on the comfortable side, whereas the EV6 is definitely on more of a fun, nimble aspect. The wide panoramic sunroof I told you about, it's truly wide, isn't it? So it stretches out all the way to the second row seat just like that. So you get outrageous view out the window. Just see how long it takes for the shade to close and open up. Look at that. And the second row seat, spacious, a typical family SUV shape. It's box shaped and space everywhere, including the boot as well. And the sense of space I get inside throughout the cabin is also different. It genuinely does feel more spacious than the EV6, especially with the second row, I would have to say. And just like you saw, all the buttons are located right here, the heated and ventilated seats with the memory seats as well. But most importantly, right there, the comfort stretching that I absolutely love. And also the buttons are located here, so I can jump into the settings right away. So it's different from the interior I've shown you, right? There probably is going to be the personal preference in terms of the interior layouts and buttons. However, I have to say that I do prefer this. Although a little bit of haptic sensor feedback here would have been nice like it was with the EV9. However, you know, the car being an EV5 affordable family EV SUV, I can live with that. The volume is located right here. You can simply go up and down and press for mute. And just like this, you can activate the HVAC using this physical buttons. So column type shifter right here, more space for the center console, so translated to this enormous interior space. I really love the good mix of physical buttons and the display layouts. If it's adequately put, I actually really like the mix of the both combinations, because there definitely are pros and cons of having the buttons and features in digital versus all physical. Car being an EV, once again, when you need the power, the car's got your back. Although a single motor, it's really comfortable, easy to drive in cities. I got no complaint whatsoever. Once again, this is the Smart Regen 3.0. The car does detect the traffic in front of it and puts it to a complete stop. And I need to make a correction here. Just found out that EV6 facelift does not come with Smart Regen 3.0, which this EV5 does come with. So that might be a deal breaker for some of you guys out there. I honestly thought that EV6 would definitely have it, because the car being a facelift and one of the latest cars, right? But I guess not. I do recall that it was EV3 that was the first car to get the Smart Regen 3.0, but I am genuinely surprised that EV6 facelift doesn't have it. If you haven't tried it before, well, maybe it could be okay for some of you guys out there, but I really love the Smart Regen 3.0. Once again, perfect situation for me to demonstrate it. Constant stops and goes during the rush hour, city drives and whatnot. I'll just show it to you. It's different from the iPedal, just so you know. iPedal is the Regen brake engaging, and you can set the different strength of the Regen brakes there, right? But Smart Regen 3.0, watch, lift my foot off the accelerator, the car detects the vehicle in front of it and slows the car down. And when needed, the car will also glide or coast to maximize the battery efficiency, which this car is doing right now. So what I do with the EV5 is that I would often turn on the ACC Smart Cruise Control or use the iPedal when I really need to precisely control the movement of a vehicle. In other words, when you have that very slowly moving traffic jam. That's what I use the iPedal. And all other situations, I use the Smart Regen 3.0. So watch right now, vehicle slowing down, lift my foot off the accelerator. You see it's slowing down, right? It will even put the car to a stop if it's red light. So you see, it's not stopping the car at once. It is just coasting, maximizing the battery efficiency once again. Where's the red light when I need one? You know what I mean? All right, right there. Yellow light, accelerator, applying it, letting it go. My foot off the accelerator, watch. Vehicle slowing and stopping. You see, it will slow the car down 4 kilometers per hour now, 3. And it's going to detect the vehicle in the front, put the car into a complete stop, just like now. So that's what I mean, people. So that is me jumping back and forth of EV6 and EV5, showing you which car is the one for you. Well, winner is quite obvious here with me. Actually not. I do prefer the EV6 in many ways, the looks, the performance, and also EV6 is great and big enough for me. Like most of the things is actually the fun aspect that the car comes with. But EV5 being one of the latest cars from Kia EV, it has all the latest tech there is that we've been getting with the Kia cars. Smart Regen 3.0 and great boot space that we have been seeing. And also maybe the design too. EV5's design, the traditional SUV shape is more appealing to some of you guys. So let me know in the comment below which one is the one for you and why you chose it. Again, for more details about each of the car, I have in-depth review of both of the cars on the channel. Feel free to check them out. So that's it for today's video. I am DK Kim of CarSceneKorea, your source for Genesis, Hyundai, and Kia cars straight from Korea. Don't forget to like and subscribe CarSceneKorea too. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.